Okay, well, it is 12:05. I expect we will have people continue to join us for a few more minutes, but I do want to make sure that we get started to honor your time and honor that all of you who did log in right away. So thank you. My name is Diana Brown, and I am, or Diana Brown Gutierrez. Oh, I got to get used to that. Uh, I just recently got married, so bear with me as I will have a name change. I am the Prevention and Early Intervention Manager here with Riverside University Health System's Behavioral Health Department. And you have just joined the Prevention and Early Intervention Quarterly Collaborative Meeting. So there are lots of us. I guess you'll have to change screens too. One of the things I dislike most is when we have these large meetings, it's hard for me to get everyone's face. I like to see everybody. But I wanted to give us a few minutes to be able to see the tiles on the screen, to see one another, who's in the room. We're going to do a little introduction. But before we do that, I want to share our agenda for the day, for the time we have together today. Hopefully everybody is able to see this. For our time together today, we will do some introductions, as I said, here in just a moment. And we are spending the majority of our time today doing our Mental Health Services Act annual update. We'll talk a little, I'll let you know what that is. Each year we do have to do an update and share with stakeholders the progress on all of our programs that are funded through the Mental Health Services Act. So we are going to talk about all 5 components, but I will spend the majority of our time diving deeper into prevention and early intervention and sharing with you each of our programs and some of the outcomes. We'll have some videos and some really cool stuff with you about the things that we've been doing this year. Then we're also going to have a little sneak peek about May is Mental Health Matters Month. May is Mental Health Matters Month activities. May is around the corner. And so we have some big plans in place, and I will have one of my staff, Mindy McFarland, share some information about that, as well as some more information about our virtual trainings. So I know we've talked about them here before in the meeting, and Mindy will dive a little deeper, giving you a little bit more information for those of you who may not taken them yet, and you want to know a little bit more about what there is available for you to take and also to share with anyone else that you're working with, families, friends, all are welcome. And then we'll have time at the end for any of our PEI contract providers to share any updates about PEI programming that's currently going on in the community, upcoming services. And then we'll also have time at the end for more of a community roundtable. So those of you that may not be a PEI contract provider that want to share what you are doing in your work, and opportunity to share any links, flyers in the chat and things like that. And then our next meeting is in June. We will make sure that you get all of that information. So let's start with introductions, as people have been joining us, and we're going to do this through a poll. So for the sake of time, I start a poll, and we want to know, what region do you represent? So for Western, Mid-County, Desert, or County-wide, or there may be some folks from outside of Riverside County that serve both. So I'll give everybody about 30 seconds to respond to each question. We have just a few. For those of you that don't know our behavioral health language, Western region covers from the Orange County border into about Moreno Valley, and then Mid-County is all the 215 corridor down Hemet, Temecula, down to the San Diego border, and then our desert is from Banning on out to the Arizona border. So it looks, I'm going to go ahead and end our poll now. Looks like most people answered. I want to share the results so you can take a look and see who we've got in our meeting with us today. So we've got some pretty great representation, actually. About a third of you from the Western region, a third in Mid-County. And while the desert percentage looks small, county-wide is about half of you. So that means we do have some desert folks here. So that's terrific, because we want to make sure that everybody has the information about our PEI programs. Okay, next question. We want to find out who you serve. So are you serving children, transition age youth, 16 to 25, adults from 26 to 59, or mature adults over the age of 60? All right, give everybody just a few more seconds to fill that in. All right, I'm going to end the poll now and share the results. And you can see we've got a very wide spread, people serving all the age groups, which is awesome. We're going to share with you services and updates of what's going on in the Mental Health Services Act and in PEI specifically that does cover the entire age span. So there'll be something here for everyone. And then our third question, what best describes your work setting? Are you a behavioral health department employee, a PEI contract provider? Do you work for another county department? Do you represent a school, a community-based organization, a faith-based organization, or any other setting I may have neglected to list here? And I'll give you just a few more seconds. Looks like almost everybody has had a chance to respond. So let me share the results of that poll. And we've got some representation across the board. We have a somebody who's an other. Anybody want to share? Who does your other want to share? Who did I miss? Feel free to unmute if you'd like. Or not, no pressure. I'm going to move on to the next question. We have just one more. And I thought just for fun, let's find out. How many times have you attended a PEI collaborative? Is this your first time? Have you been here a handful of times or a little bit more? We've had a total of 15 meetings since we started these PEI collaboratives back in 2017. And so we just thought it would be kind of fun to find out who we have in the room with us today and how familiar you are with our process. All right, and the poll, share the results. Wow, almost 40% of you are here for the first time. Welcome. I'm so glad to have you. This is actually a terrific first time meeting to join us in today because we are going to do a pretty wide breadth overview of the Mental Health Services Act and very specifically into prevention and early intervention. So you'll really get a nice view into what it is that we offer here through prevention and early intervention. And then we'll talk to you, each time we do meet, we typically dive deep into a program review for one of our prevention programs. So anyway, I'm really glad to have everybody here. And we've got a few that have been to every single one. Me too. I've been at every single one. So I'm glad to have some company. Okay, so we're going to end the poll there. I am going to stop this screen share. And there you all are again. So nice to see everybody. And we are going to start right away with our annual update. So here we go. Oops. All right. So as I mentioned before, the Mental Health Services Act is a California approved ballot proposition back in 2004. That is a 1% tax on income over $1 million that's designed to transform the public mental health system. And there are lots of rules and regulations. I'm not going to go into the details of all of those, but just a few of the limitations and focus of those dollars are to point out that services are designed for clients in voluntary environments. And that's really important to recognize. And also that substance use treatment services can only be funded for people with a co-occurring disorder, which means that they have a mental health diagnosis as well as a substance use disorder. Some Mental Health Service Act money cannot fund solely substance use treatment. And that the plan development for each county throughout the state does require a stakeholder process. And so that includes a third public review of the posted draft plan and hosting a public hearing. Due to gathering restrictions, behavioral health will again do a virtual process like we did last year. And we will have extended posting of both English and Spanish videos with a comprehensive overview of the plan. So something very similar to what I'm going to do with you today. And then, but with additional information. And this is going to take place in April and May of this year. So we're just about getting close to posting. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that I presented it with you all today, so that you get the full information about Mental Health Services Act. And then, of course, I'm going to spend lots more time on PEI because that's where I represent and what this meeting is really all about. And this is really an opportunity not only for you to hear how things are going, but for you to share with us your feedback. What do you like? What's missing? What questions do you have? And this is an opportunity for you to give us feedback that informs the services that we deliver through the Mental Health Services Act. And so at the end of my presentation, there'll be opportunity for questions. You certainly can drop some in the chat as well, but we will also be distributing to you a feedback survey. And on that feedback survey, you can download it, you can fill it in, and then email it back to us. All the information is on that form. I'm going to have either Miriam, have Miriam drop that into the chat for you, so you can give your feedback there, and it moves through the process with the plan. So, and I just talked about that, the stakeholder process. And so the Mental Health Services Act includes 5 components, and these are the official titles through the legislation: community services and supports, which really is the prevention, early intervention, innovation, workforce education and training, and capital facilities and technology. I just wanted you to hear those 5 terms. That is how the legislation breaks them up. And now I'm going to dive into each one just a little bit and give you a brief overview of each one. So community services and supports is the largest component of the Mental Health Services Act. It funds about 80% of our Riverside County services, and 51% of those dollars have to go to something called a full service partnership, which is 24/7 intensive outpatient programs for clients who are at the greatest risk for hospitalization, homelessness, or incarceration. CSS also covers the integration of peer providers into the service system, as well as justice-involved programs, crisis system of care, and housing. So you can read the entire plan. That is fairly lengthy. It is on our department's website. There'll be we'll make sure that you have all the links to get to it. So all I'm going to share with you today are some top highlights from each of these sections. So currently, the department is reorganizing our service delivery under this component to create consistency across regions and programs, and to better identify service match to client need. Services will be tiered. So there'll be current specialty full service partnership services. We already have those in place. Those will stay in place. And then each clinic will have their own full service partnership track. And then there'll also be some standard outpatient services and general outpatient services that will be managed at integrated care programs at community health centers. So that's one of the big moves, I think, really overall in the mental health field, is more integration with medical. A little bit on housing. We have some expanded staffing. We've expanded staffing extensively to further support the No Place Like Home street outreach and Board of Supervisor city requests. So on-site services at places of residence for full service partnerships and forensic full service partnership consumers. Housing has also secured a large substance abuse block grant with substance use and prevention treatment programming partnership to assist in the payment of all 5 levels of housing supports for our severely mentally ill and substance use disorder populations. And we've also added substance abuse certified counselor to the array of staff types for street outreach. So expanding the services that are available through that program. Our crisis system of care is now our CBAT and mobile psych service teams have all moved under the crisis system of care. We've worked with the Riverside County Sheriff and Chief or police organizations to expand the CBAT program. And we currently have 6 clinical therapists that do ride-alongs with law enforcement that support individuals in the community that are having a mental health issue that is better addressed by a therapist versus a law enforcement officer. And that's been so successful, we're now adding 9 more of those teams throughout the county. And then we've also, our mobile crisis teams have been rebranded. They used to have different names: Crest, Rocky, Reach. Now they're just going to be called the mobile crisis teams. So it's, I think, a little less confusing to be able to get crisis services regardless of where the need is. That team will be able to address all of it. And then we also have a model of a new mobile crisis team that incorporates crisis, substance use, and housing elements into one team to better address the needs of community members. And our executive management has approved, and we are now requiring for 2 more of those specialized teams that will be, so the other ones were in Lake Elsinore and the surrounding areas, and now there's going to be 2 additional teams in Harupa Valley and Desert Hot Springs. So those are some of the exciting changes happening in CSS. And next, we're going to move to talk about WET. WET is Workforce Education and Training, one of the 5 Mental Health Service Act components. It's not a direct service component. It really is dedicated to recruitment, retention, and training of the public mental health workforce. So at one time, it was a one-time fund, but now continues to be funded through Community Services and Supports, the section I just talked about, that if we're going to have all of these great services, we need to make sure we have a service staff system that can provide it. So just a couple of highlights from this year's Workforce Education and Training planning. We had the opportunity for some additional funding that will be issued to support advanced trainings for department staff, loan repayment programs, stipend for student interns, and career pipeline activities. These are ways we attempt to make sure our workforce has competent skills to address the populations we serve and to also keep people coming to work here. There's also been 16 unique advanced trainings that were offered throughout last fiscal year, and we offered continuing education to staff whenever that was possible. Many of the trainings focused on trauma or culture. We also have assigned staff through this department that works to improve structure, oversight, development, and evaluation of some of our most critical evidence-based models that are being done in the department. And that includes dialectical behavioral therapy, disorder treatment, trauma-focused CBT, our nonviolent crisis intervention model, and seeking safety. This unit has also created a comprehensive case management training series for staff that are providing case management services, and also have a new continuing education authorizing agency that supports that work for our department. And we have, and because of course with COVID canceling as many things as it did, in-person trainings were on hold, but we do have now an e-learning software system. So many of the trainings have been worked this year to be converted into a virtual format so staff can still access that training right at their desk with social distancing and safety. And so that was a big shift this year. The next component I'll talk about is innovations. So innovation is funded with a little bit from CSS and a little bit from PEI. These are designed to create research projects that advance knowledge in the field, not to fill service gaps. So it's small amount of funding, about 5% of the overall funding for short-term programs that we're testing. Did we learn something that we can apply to the service system or not? And if we did, then we move it, we try to continue it through another one of the components. And so one thing we have a lot happening in the innovation section. One thing to point out is our TASE centers we had as a previous innovations project has just ended because it reached its 5-year mark. And what we found is that it was very successful. So while the innovations component does end, the department has made a commitment to keep the TASE centers in place. And so those are operating even now during COVID in limited capacity. And then we also have our commercially sexually exploited children's mobile unit that offers intervention for that population. And then our Help at Hand tech suite is also a current project that's looking at developing technology use in support of mental health recovery. And there's a lot more to it. Maybe we'll have innovations share about that on another meeting that we have. But I'm going to move into community facilities and technology. That's what CFTN stands for. And the community facilities, again, are time-limited funds that were meant to develop infrastructure. So if we're going to do all these great programs, we need a place to do them. And so it allows for some funding to be able to build the settings and do things like have electronic health records. And so this year, there's a few things going on in this area, and that is the Roy's Desert Oasis. is a 92-bed augmented board and care facility that enabled the movement of consumers to step down from locked IMDs. And this facility was opened early in August of 2020. And the Arlington Recovery Campus is a full-service campus of both residential and outpatient care designed to assist consumers whose behavioral health needs have resulted in contact with the justice system. And so with the support of DHCS, we built and licensed a 38-bed mental health rehabilitation center at the Riverside Behavioral Health Campus to assist in psychiatric hospital COVID surge and level of care. Also set up and licensed a 20-bed COVID person under investigation unit for the patients at ETS and ITF with the ability to surge to 40 beds if needed. And on target to fully open and serve consumers by November of this year. We also, that opened in January, a 16-bed adult mental health residential treatment facility in Indio. And then also in January in Palms, a permanent supportive housing development funded by No Place Like Home with a mental health, 68 mental health beds for homeless elderly consumers also opened this past January. So a lot of movement in capital facilities. Okay. So that's a really brief overview of all the other components. Now we're going to get to the one that I like to talk about the most, and that's, of course, prevention and early intervention, which is why you've joined us today. So this is where we'll spend the majority of our time. PEI is the second largest component of the Mental Health Services Act. It's about 20% of the funding. The goals of PEI are to reduce stigma related to seeking mental health services, to reduce discrimination against people with a diagnosis, and to prevent the onset of a severe mental illness. So, and then early intervention is looking at individuals with symptoms of a mental illness for 1 year or less, or they don't even meet criteria for a full diagnosis. We offer low intensity short-term interventions. One of the requirements is that 51% of the funds are for youth under the age of 25, and then the rest are spread out across the lifespan. And in Riverside County, we have 7 work plans filled with lots of programs that I'm going to go into some detail with today. Some of the broad overview I want to share in 2019, 2020, which is the fiscal year that we're looking at for this update. We continued to operate all 7 work plans. We supported 29 programs with 25 providers throughout the county. And I want to share with you some of the highlights of my administrative unit. So we're an administrative and training unit that supports these providers in the community and offers some additional things. So we do some monthly contract monitoring that includes technical assistance, training, coaching, and support to each PEI provider as they're doing their evidence-based interventions to help them be the most successful and make sure that families and individuals in Riverside County get the best service they possibly can. We also have opportunities for funding. In this last fiscal year, we released 8 requests for proposals. And then we also invited 7 new contracts into our team this last year. We have a year-round community planning process. So while each year around this time, we do the MHSA update, that is what you just all heard. We also want to hear from you all year long. So the year-round process for PEI includes our quarterly collaborative. That's this meeting that meets 4 times a year. We also have a quarterly newsletter that is distributed in between these meetings. So you're our first time here, you've now submitted your email to us. We will add you to our contact list. And as we have those newsletters and we have other information to share, you will get an email from me or my secretary, Miriam Resendez, that will share with you information that you might be interested in knowing about. So, of course, we all know that this year included the unprecedented impact of COVID-19, and the impacts to PEI programs and community events required staff and contractors to be flexible and creative. So the PEI admin unit and contracted providers met this challenge with positivity and a team-oriented spirit, and our outcome data demonstrates consistent outcomes as in years past. But of course, with some reduction in numbers served due to the impacts of COVID. So the following, you see the 7 work plans here. I am going to give you some highlights for each one. And we're going to look at some of the programs that encompass each work plan. Is Susanna on the call today? Are you here, Susanna? I can't see everybody in the. No,
I don't think so, unless she's on someone else's account.
Okay. She may join us. But I'm going to talk about some data, and Susanna Juarez-Williamson is our supervising research staff here at Behavioral Health, and her team is the one that does all this data for us. So whenever she's around, I love to have her voice share, because she is she's the one that computes all this information. But for PEI programs, all of them are evidence-based or evidence-informed services, and so we track outcomes. One of the major focus of the Mental Health Services Act, whether it's prevention and early intervention or any of the other components, is that we want to make sure that the services we're delivering actually impact people and help them be well and help communities be more resilient. And so we're tracking data, not only who do we serve, but what are the outcomes? How does it impact people? How does it change? How do we know that we're making positive impacts? And so what I'm going to share with you is some of those outcomes. And so one of the programs we're going to talk about in our mental health stigma reduction awareness work plan is our Community Mental Health Promoters program. So these are individuals that are from different cultural communities that are trained in mental health to implement mental health awareness information, suicide prevention information to specific cultural communities with a cultural lens, with the goal of reducing the fears of seeking help and increasing access to resources. And so the fiscal year 1920 was the first year for these 4 contractors to start their work. So they got really lucky in their first year of doing work that we were hit with a global pandemic. But I will tell you that they did an amazing job in dealing with that challenge. So they all started up about halfway through the year, which means it was just a couple of months before COVID hit. And so these numbers that you're seeing now are how they handled that half a year, even with virtual services. So they all converted to virtual. They offer 1-hour mental health presentations. And so we've got a program for our African American community, the Asian Pacific Islander community, Native American, and LGBT. They did have a closure during the COVID period, but they are back up and running. And so some of the feedback we're hearing from community includes these quotes that are listed here, that it was very therapeutic and informative. And this individual didn't know that these resources existed, and it taught me how to talk about mental health with my family. So those are some of and that's what we're hoping for, that we increase help seeking. And then previously, we also did a program called Promotorist de Salud Mental y Bienestar. That is another community mental health-based program that focuses on the Hispanic population. It's been around a little bit longer than the other ones. And so they did serve quite a few people in the last fiscal year. And again, hearing feedback like, I really liked all the information. We're not the only people who feel this way, and understanding that there are all kinds of feelings that can affect our mental health. So again, making it normalizing the need for support and the likelihood that people will reach out when they need it. One of the next programs that we'll highlight is some of the more youth-focused programs. So we have our Directing Change program and film contest. This is actually a statewide contest that we then do some local support for. So Directing Change is a statewide program that is about young people between the ages of 12 and 25, and asks them to create a public service announcement film it's about 30 to 60 seconds long, that focuses on mental health awareness or suicide prevention. And last year in 1920, 173 films were submitted by young people in Riverside County that represented 562 of our youth that now know more about mental health and are able to educate their peers about mental health. And those films went to the state for judging. And typically locally, we have a local judging, as well as an event where the young people, their schools and their families are invited to screen their films and receive their local award. Last year, we did have to cancel that in-person event because of COVID, but we did transition to a virtual event. We're going to have, I think, a little bit more to share with you later on about that. And then Dare to Be Aware is a youth conference that we do one day that educates young high school and middle school students about mental health. And we had this in January of 2020, so just COVID, and there were over 700 youth and school staff that came and participated in that. Contact for Change is a program that offers community presentations by trained peer support with lived experience of mental illness. And they offer presentations to reduce stigma regarding mental illness and increase community awareness regarding mental health information and resources. So the Speakers Bureau had over 600 people attend, and then they offer educator awareness presentations as well for school personnel, and there were over 200 school staff that attended those. And outcomes show decreases in stigmatizing attitudes and increases in positive attitudes towards recovery and empowerment. Again, creating safer spaces. Another project that we have is our integrated outreach and screening. So this integrates behavioral health and physical health care to allow that increased opportunity to identify early signs of mental illness while reducing disparity in access of services to unserved or underserved populations in Riverside County. So depression screenings are offered at the community health centers, where any community member can have their depression symptoms addressed with their primary care physician. And then if they need linkage to support services, then that is done at that time. In addition, we've added a clinical therapist, and we'll have a behavioral health specialist join that team to support the medical staff as they're reviewing those screenings and supporting their patients for increased consultation and education around mental health resources in Riverside County. And that newly is happening this year. And then we also help support the Peer Navigation Center, which helps which is an individual with lived experience who helps individuals who are newly entering our system to navigate the system and get the resources that they need. And we had over 400 individuals get support through that program. We also help to support the local helpline, the Suicide Prevention Crisis Hotline. And in 1920, they had 4,539 calls that were received by the helpline, which is pretty amazing because what we were seeing increases to the helpline. And I think one of the things that may tell us is that the information is getting out there, and now people know where they can access supports. And so they're getting the help that they need. Network of Care is another web-based resource center that individuals can access. And this website has received over 175,000 visits in the last fiscal year alone, with almost 500,000 page views. So that means people are going in there and accessing the resource and getting services that they need. So in each of these plans, we'll kind of talk a little bit about how COVID impacted those services. I've shared a little bit of that along the way, but we wanted to highlight some of the things that were done a little bit differently this year because of COVID. And so May is Mental Health Matters Month. I won't spend a lot of time because Mindy is going to present after I'm finished today a little bit more about May is Mental Health Month. Last year, we typically gather community events and go out into the community for doing some mental health awareness and stigma reduction. And with COVID, we switched to a completely virtual format. So we offered a calendar and an activity guide and the hashtag PEI May 2020, and encouraged individuals to do these variety of activities that they could do in their home and in their community, take pictures of it, put it on social media, and spread awareness about mental health. The theme was Express Yourself, and we had a unique theme for each week. And we utilized the activities from our state partners at Each Mind Matters. They offer a toolkit each year. We adapted that toolkit and focused on infusing some unique elements specific to Riverside County. We also released weekly videos that shared about each week's theme and primary activities. We had 4 videos, one per week, that we shared that received over 1,200 views. And a few of our providers also shared videos highlighting the weekly activities to reach more of our underserved cultural populations. And so we have a small snippet here. So if you didn't get a chance to see these videos, I thought we'd share it.
Hi, my name is Diana Brown, the Prevention and Early Intervention Manager with Riverside University Health System Behavioral Health. In the month of May, we focus on how mental health matters so we can decrease the stigma related to mental health increase awareness about mental health, and start conversations that encourage help seeking and resiliency in our communities. This year, we're launching a social media campaign that includes activities you can do at your home and in your community while still keeping physical distance and staying safe. The theme for this May's Mental Health Matters Month is Express Yourself, and we have a lot of activities that everyone can do, safely and virtually, to spread the message of mental health and mental wellness. For this first week of May, our theme is Express Your Support. Activities for this week are focused on promoting support and awareness about mental health. Join us in the Where's the Green Ribbon activity. Lime green is the national color for mental health awareness. Wearing a lime green ribbon is a great way to open an honest dialogue with friends, family, classmates, and coworkers about mental health. And it's an easy way to show your support. For this week's activity, create a display for your window. Get creative and express your support for mental health. Show a lime green ribbon in your window and include some words of encouragement and support to others. To help spread the word and awareness, take a picture of your window display. Share it on your community social media pages and your own social media pages with the hashtag PEI May 2020. When you're out and about, maybe driving through your neighborhood, going for a walk or a bike ride, pay attention to see how many green ribbons you can find. Share on social media what you find using the hashtag PEI May 2020. For resources and support, you can visit eachmindmatters.org, sanamente.org, or uptoriverside.org. And information and support is also available through 211 and 951-686-HELP, our local helpline. Check out the full calendar for this week's events at uptoriverside.org/mental health month. Thanks for watching, and remember, each mind matters.
This video aired on Friday, May 1st through one of the public health COVID announcements. That was our kickoff. And then we had a video for each month or each week through the month. So using the hashtag PEI May 2020 and engaging people through different activities throughout the month, we were able to track many posts on social media from the community to increase awareness around mental health. Our community mental health promoters received toolkits and created weekly videos that were specific to their underserved communities in order to expand our reach and engagement with the May is Mental Health Month activities. And those are just some examples of things that were on our social media. Our local helpline through United Way of the Inland Valley saw an influx of calls to their center with people reaching out for help and support during this time of crisis. And so here we have a little clip we're going to share where our helpline was featured on Good Day LA, sharing their experiences and services during COVID.
Suicide prevention hotlines across the state have seen an uptick in calls from people struggling, folks struggling with depression, loneliness, and anxiety. COVID crisis fatigue, bills piling up, and job losses, just some of the reasons behind it. The United Way in Riverside is trying to address this crisis head on. Bob DeCastro is there for us this morning. Bob, I'm so glad you're doing this.
We're live this morning in Riverside. This is the Helpline. It's one of the oldest suicide prevention crisis intervention hotlines on the West Coast. And it says in its more than 50-year history, this is one of the toughest years yet. It has received more than 4,000 calls since the beginning of the pandemic. Inland SoCal United Way calls it the Helpline, but counselors answering phones 24 hours a day have become a real lifeline.
So the calls have been much more severe.
The call center's manager, Jen Carson, says it's not just the volume in traffic to its hotline that has changed during this pandemic, it's the type of person seeking help.
We've gotten calls from people aged 10 to 90 who are suicidal. Just a week ago, we actually helped get a 10-year-old who was attempting suicide to the hospital.
The reasons for the change are many. From isolation,
a lot of calls from elderly folks,
job losses,
individuals who've been impacted by the mass unemployment are devastated they can't get their children gifts,
to a fear of the unknown.
It's really the perfect storm of suffering right now.
This year, Riverside County launched an ambitious effort and coalition to eliminate suicide and save lives, offering free classes to anyone willing to help. Diana Brown is with the Riverside University Health System.
We're not training therapists. We're training moms and dads and pastors and coaches and teachers and neighbors and anyone that wants to be able to help someone that they love or care about who might be having thoughts of suicide.
Okay, The clip goes a little longer, but for sake of time, just wanted to show you a little tidbit. If you want to see the rest of it, we can get that to you later. But that leads us right into our suicide prevention activities that I want to share with you. We've made big strides in the past year in advancing all these activities, and some noteworthy things I want to make sure you know about. So one of the primary areas of focus in PEI is suicide prevention. We have a variety of different activities that aim to address suicide prevention efforts throughout the county. At our last update, we had shared about the development of a countywide suicide prevention strategic plan and how we had begun to develop this project utilizing suicide prevention work groups. So let's talk about the timeline and snapshot of the progress that's been made in regards to the suicide prevention strategic plan and the development of our local suicide prevention coalition. So in June of 2018, the CDC released Preventing Suicide, a technical package of policy, programs, and practices. And their report indicated an increase in suicides across the nation. And then in November of 2018, we here at Prevention and Early Intervention started participating in the Suicide Prevention Learning Collaborative with our statewide partners through Each Mind Matters. And in January of 2019, the Riverside County Suicide Risk Assessment Tool for Schools was created in partnership with our own RUHS Public Health Department, Behavioral Health, with Riverside County Office of Education, with the HARC Research Institute, and with Riverside County districts. Then in July of 2019, we conducted 2 suicide prevention stakeholder meetings that represented over 33 different agencies throughout the county to get feedback around the needs and to review the data that currently exists in Riverside County related to suicide. And then in December, the Mental Health Services Oversight and Accountability Commission, or the MHSOAC, released the California Strategic Plan for Suicide Prevention, an updated version that's for 2020 to 2025 called Striving for Zero. And then utilizing all this information I've shared so far and creating our own needs here in Riverside County, in June of 2020, we released the Building Hope and Resiliency, a collaborative approach to suicide prevention in Riverside County plan. And it is in line with the statewide effort. And in September of 2020, the Riverside County Board of Supervisors passed a resolution, unanimously, I will note, with a 5-0 vote, to formally adopt this suicide prevention strategic plan as the Riverside County approach to suicide prevention. And then in October of 2020, we had our first kickoff meeting of the Suicide Prevention Coalition here in Riverside. We have co-chairs for all parts of the plan. There are 6 subcommittees that address the strategy objectives listed in the plan that are meant to bring that plan to life and advance the goals that we have listed in the plan. So those committees are meeting regularly, at least monthly, if not more often, and they meet under this organizational structure. So Public Health, Rebecca Antione has stepped up to partner with me, and the 2 of us help to move this forward, along with some of our staff that provide lots of clerical and technical support to the subcommittees. And these are the 6 subcommittees. So we've got our effective messaging and communication, and these are our co-chairs, the measuring and sharing outcomes, upstream focus, looking at healthy and connected communities and promoting resiliency, prevention focus, that is focused on trainings related to suicide prevention and engaging schools, our intervention focus, means safety and the expansion and integration of suicide prevention and health services, and our postvention services. And postvention is focused on providing supports to the survivors of suicide loss. So after a suicide has occurred, the family and friends that were impacted by that loss do require appropriate interventions. And so that's what that group is looking at. So if anybody wants to know more about this or be a part of our coalition or in any of these subcommittees, you can just let us know and we'll make sure that we get you all the information that you need. We would love to have you join us. Some additional suicide prevention activities include our trainings. So we offer a 2-day assist, which is applied suicide intervention skills training that 273 individuals received last fiscal year. It focuses on helping individuals identify warning signs of suicide, how to begin to talk to someone about their thoughts of suicide and ask the question directly, are you thinking about suicide? And then to help an individual, if that answer is yes, to find safety for right now and get them connected to services. Safe Talk is a 3-hour suicide prevention workshop that helps individuals identify the warning signs and ask directly, and then teaches them how to connect them to maybe an assist trained individual. We also offer mental health first aid for youth and adults. That is more an overview around different areas of mental illness and mental health, and does include some suicide prevention information. And then Know the Signs is a 2-hour workshop that does more of an overview about some of the basics related to suicide prevention. You see the numbers here of who received training in 1920. The 3 Assist, Safe Talk, and Mental Health First Aid are not able to be done virtually. So when COVID prevented us from gathering, those trainings unfortunately did have to stop. So you can see these are the numbers up until March of fiscal year 1920. And then we will resume those as soon as we're allowed to gather again. So because we weren't able to offer those, we did convert to, why are these in here twice? We did offer some virtual trainings. So these are, Mindy's going to talk more about these a little bit later, so I'm also not going to spend a lot of time on it, but we have these 4 that were developed by the PEI administrative team and are offered regularly throughout the year. So I'm going to save the details on that, but during last fiscal year, we did conduct 60 of these virtual trainings and had over 1,400 individuals receive the benefits of these trainings so far. And I now like to tell my team that they are international presenters, because we have found that we started using Eventbrite to do registrations for these trainings, and people are finding us from all over the world. So in addition to our local Riverside County folks, we have had individuals from other states and other countries join us for some of these trainings. So that's been an interesting experience, but I'm going to let Mindy give you the details on what each of these covers and how you can access them as well. So now we're going to move into Work Plan 2, which is Parent Education and Support, and share some of the outcomes with you. So you can see these includes multiple parenting programs that are about increasing parent and caregiver skills in order to reduce risk factors and increase protective factors in their children. Services are provided in non-traditional settings. So this is like schools, community centers, churches, anywhere where our providers can find space that is comfortable and close to an individual's community. And in last fiscal year, 879 individuals were served through this. This includes our Strengthening Families program, which showed a 70% completion rate, which is pretty phenomenal for any kind of long program. And Strengthening Families is a 14-week parenting program. And then we also offer Triple P, which is an 8-week parenting program. And we had 82% completion rate. And then we've also, in the last couple of years, expanded to a teen component for Triple P. So we do have parenting for all ages, for as young as 2 years old up through the teen years, which is nice. And we're seeing that there's been a reduction in behavior problems and an improvement in positive parenting practices. And you can see a participant here says, I learned how to take my time to teach my daughter new skills, how to be patient and follow through with logical consequences. Additionally, in this work plan is our mobile PEI units. So these are 3 Riverside County mobile units that provide mental health services, parent-child interaction therapy, and a variety of prevention interventions to families throughout the county. Typically, they're parked on school sites. So of course, there were impacts due to COVID. However, PCIT did serve 144 children and their parents and provided some parent-provider consults. 61 parents and 50 providers. These are educators, so people on preschool campuses, in Head Starts and in the lower elementary grades. And also the Nurturing Parenting Program group was also provided to parents. And again, they saw a decrease in problem behaviors and that parent relationships with their child improved. So our parenting programs were able to adapt to virtual services and were able to continue to recruit new parents even during COVID. In response, our PEI providers, again, had to do this while maintaining their own safety and to maintain fidelity to the models, because these are evidence-based practices. So we want to share with you a little bit from our Strengthening Families program. This is offered by MFI Recovery and Latino Commission. And they adapted their program and actually were recognized by the developer of the evidence-based model in their innovative approach to service delivery and maintaining fidelity to that model. They not only went above and beyond to serve families here in Riverside County, but they've been invited by the developer to share with other providers across the country about their success and transition into virtual service implementation, as the master trainer noted that no one else had been able to do this throughout the country. So I'm going to share just a brief clip with you here.
Hi, we're the Strengthening Family Coordinators. My name is Cecilia Alvarenga, and I am the West Region Coordinator.
Hi, my name is Maria Alcaraz, and I am Mid-County Coordinator.
And my name is Alan Mora Lopez, and I am the Desert Region Coordinator. And today we're going to be talking to you all about how we were able to successfully transition our in-person PEI program into an online program.
Hey boys and girls!
All right, kids, welcome back to our YouTube channel.
Hey guys, how are you? Happy day!
Hey with the girls. Hey kids, welcome back to session 6. So,
Hello, welcome guys. This is our session number 9.
So they did an amazing job. And if you were with us at our last collaborative, they really went into greater detail into all of these adaptations that they made. Strengthening Families, that 14-week program really encompasses the entire family. So typically they meet for 3 hours once a week for 14 weeks. 1 hour is with the parents, 1 hour the kids get a separate group, and then they come together and practice the skills learned and have a meal together. And so adapting this to virtual had huge challenges that they just masterfully did, and were able to provide some pre-recorded information to families that when they did gather virtually live streaming, they were able to have information to assist them in practicing those skills. So really remarkable job. We're very proud of them. We're going to move into Work Plan 3, which is our early intervention for families in schools. That includes our Peace for Kids program. And this is based on aggression replacement training you might be familiar with, but it's been adapted for middle school students, and that's why it's called Peace for Kids. It's provided on campus during school at both middle schools in Desert Hot Springs. And the program goals are for students to master their social skills and improve school success, learn about anger management, and decrease acting out behaviors, and a whole section on character development. There's also a parent component, that's included in the program as well. And you can see we had 174 students enrolled with 64% completed. Of course, school closed in March. So there were some challenges at the end of the school year because of that school closure. Although they did convert to virtual and did attempt to engage students, it did present challenges. But overall, we did see that behavioral difficulties decreased and pro-social skills increased. And one of the students says here, I have learned to use the I message and have integrity overall with people, and have learned how to have patience with people and how to use the MELT. That's a middle school student who wrote that comment at the conclusion of the program, which I think is impressive. And the MELT is a intervention that they learn on how to take some deep breaths and get centered before they begin. And something else I want to note is that this program received an award from Rivco Innovates. So this is the Riverside County has the opportunity to, they review programs, and they're really looking at how Riverside County services are being transformed through efficiencies and innovation. And it's about promoting that culture of innovation and outstanding services for community members. And in December of 2019, Peace for Kids was awarded the Rivco Innovates Award for demonstrating creative new ideas that have been implemented, enhanced, and that achieved results. So the Peace for Kids program, they did have to close with the school. And so their programming did cease at the beginning of this current fiscal year. However, now that schools are opening up in small groups, they have been invited back on campus, and they are doing small group right now, less students working with the ability of what the amount that the school will let them be on campus. So we're seeing that program come back online, and we're really excited about that. Moving to work plan 4. See, the first one was the biggest. I spent a lot more time there. It has a lot more stuff. The other programs, the other work plans are a little bit smaller. So Transition Age Youth Project, or the work plan, covers transition age youth between the ages of 16 and 25 and covers a few different things. So the first program I'll talk about is our Teen Suicide Awareness and Prevention Program, or you'll likely hear it called TSAP, which is a program that is run through our public health department that goes to school districts throughout the county, middle schools and high schools, and works with to establish suicide prevention clubs on campus. The goal is to prevent teen suicide by providing training and resources to students, teachers, counselors, parents, and community members, all on the school site. And they provide not only campaigning and information to students, they encourage students to start their own campaigns on campus to educate each other, and then provide training to school staff and parents. So over 4,000 youth from 96 school sites participated in these trainings, and trained youth then disseminated that information to their peers. And the trained youth impacted approximately 65,912 youth across many school districts once these activities were coordinated. Our next project is the Transition Age Youth Project that includes a few different programs. The PeertoPeer Project focuses on outreach, stigma reduction, coping, and support groups, as well as mentoring. Their outreach reached over 3,800 attendees. Speakers Bureau, more than 2,000 individuals participated, and outcomes showed attitudes regarding recovery from mental health conditions were improved after the presentation. Again, it's that stigma reduction is what we're focused on here. And then our peers also offer directing change workshops to young people so that it teaches them about the directing change program and teaches them how they can actually make those 60-second public service announcements. It helps them develop a storyboard and how it's focused on their own understanding about mental health and mental illness. And so they offered that to over 260 kids throughout the county, and then mentored 32 youth as well. They also offer a structured program called Coping and Support Training, or CAST, and they served over 170 students with 42% completion rate. And the outcome showed improvement in self-esteem, personal control of moods, personal control of school, and decision-making. So you can see a participant says, it reminded me that there's help out there, and being hopeful is one of the best things you can do to move forward. The TAPE project also includes our Stress and Your Mood program. This is an evidence-based early intervention program to treat depression based on the concepts of cognitive behavioral therapy. And it's usually provided in settings where the youth feels comfortable. So most often on school campuses, sometimes at a library or a community center. And of course, right now it's being done virtually. 282 participants enrolled in this intervention, and 51% completed. So what we saw was that depression decreased, psychiatric status improved, and that overall functioning improved. So a participant says, I learned how to cope with my depression and how to keep from falling into thinking traps. I also learned how to identify stressors that may aggravate my depression. So let's talk about COVID. Again, having to think outside the box. How do we reach these target audiences and populations? And so on the next slide, you'll see a creative use of TikTok to outreach to TAY for the Stress in Your Mood program. These TikToks were shared with teachers who then shared it in their virtual classrooms with their students, and the efforts proved to be quite successful. They received responses back from 150 students that had interest in the group.
Who get money that's bring? Who make decisions that bring? Who make the hits that been bring? Who run the whole operation that been bring? Can you just get back to the issue here? The poster reveals a smile from the pack. Elephants and acrobats, lion, snakes, monkey. Billy speaks righteous, Sister Tina says funky. How bizarre. How bizarre. How bizarre.
So moving forward, I sent your teacher a link to this Google survey. It's really simple, really short, really easy. I need you guys all to fill that out for me. At the bottom here, there's a little section that asks you if you're interested in the program or not. So if you're interested, I will reach out to you as soon as possible, as soon as I get it back, and we can get the process started. If you're not interested, still fill out the survey. And then at the bottom here, there's a section for questions. If I wasn't clear about anything, or if you have any additional questions, just go ahead and put it there and I will reach out to you and we can talk about it. I want to emphasize too that this is a no pressure program. We really understand how you guys are just over this whole distance learning and this Zoom stuff. So if you want, we can be flexible. We can do sessions over the phone if that's easier for you. We can do individual sessions rather than group sessions. We're really just trying to work with you. We'll work with your schedule, like whenever you have available time. That's when we'll try to make our sessions happen. We're really just interested in being a support system during this time of unknown. So if you want that support, go ahead and fill out that survey and let us know, and we will get back to you. Thank you.
So the Transition Age Youth Project is offered by Operation Safe House countywide for us. And we love that they really went outside the box and used TikTok as a format to do some outreach for young people. And they're a little longer than this, so you can see more of the information. We can share that information with you if you want to see it, but just really creative. And we just were, again, really proud at the creativity of our providers to reach kids as they are not in, only doing virtual school. Directing change, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, right? We had to figure out how are we going to recognize the hard work of our TAY population with the Directing Change Film Contest. So for 2020, we adapted by hosting a virtual award ceremony. The different categories were recorded as a series of videos and shared on YouTube, as well as our social media pages. Winners were asked to share about their experiences creating their videos, and special awards were sent out to winners and advisors, as well as certificates of recognition for those who participated. So we have just a little video clip to share with you from our virtual award ceremony for the animated short category.
Hi, my name is Haley and I'm a student at Valley View High School. The next category is animated short. Animation is a medium unlike any other because it has the ability to bring together technology and storytelling with the application of sound, visuals, and design. For the purpose of this category, we refer to the Oxford English definition, animation. The technique of photographing successive drawings or positions of puppets or models to create an illusion of movement when the film is shown as a sequence. Entering a film in the animated short category provides you with the opportunity to share information about the warning signs for suicide and how to support a friend through the magic of animation. And the nominees for animated short film for Riverside County are
In high school, my friend became distant. He canceled on plans and stopped doing the things he loved. I asked him if he was okay, but he got defensive and walked away. I told my counselor what was happening. She told me he might be having mental distractions and gave me a note with the suicide prevention lifeline. At lunch, I asked him if he was thinking about suicide. He told me that he was and he felt alone. I told him he wasn't alone and gave him the note. Together, we called the number and got him the help he needed. Now he acts a lot happier. I'm glad I saw the signs.
And the winner for the short animated film from Riverside County is Inner Demon, submitted by Trinity Arthur from Valley View High School. Advisor is Chris Lawrence. Congratulations. Trinity, we would like to hear about your experience in making this film. Please, film yourself telling us one thing you would like everyone to know about your videos so we can share it on social media and YouTube. We want to see more animated films created to highlight mental health. Please share with your friends and families. Get involved. Start making your films and submit your film by March 1st, 2021. Information on how you could be a part of this project next year will be provided at the end of this video.
And you can find all the series of all the awards from the virtual event on our YouTube page that the department has, if you want to see the rest. So in addition, the response to COVID-19 and the civil unrest that we've experienced, in September of 2020, the Directing Change statewide program launched a new category of films called the Hope and Justice category. The Hope and Justice category is an opportunity for youth living through history to express their feelings and to inspire others through art. Open to young people ages 12 to 25, submissions are accepted in all art forms: original music, dance, spoken word, poems, short films, TikTok, and more. Youth can select from 3 topics: hope, justice, or a monthly prompt. Submissions around hope focus on sharing personal stories about what gives us hope during these challenging times and how we practice self-care. The justice option asks youth to share a personal experience with discrimination or injustice and allows others to feel empathy. Or entries can educate others about bias and encourage youth to take a stand against injustice when they see it. In October, the prompt was creative ways to measure 6 feet physical distancing and asked youth to use their creativity to tell us how they creatively measure 6 feet physical distance and why it's important that we all practice this to slow down the spread of COVID-19. In October, 9 projects were submitted for Riverside County, and the following films advanced to a final round of judging for this monthly prompt. Riverside County took first place with its submission for creative social distancing from a 9th grade student at New View Bridge Early College High School in Nuevo. And Valley View High School in Moreno Valley earned 2 honorable mentions with their submission for 6 feet apart and social distancing with trigonometry. Okay, and so we want to share with you the video from our October first place winner.
So here's the scenario. You decided to go to the store for some food because you've been living off of microwave burritos for a week. So you walk into the store and a person in front of you has a cough. So at that moment you start to panic because you don't know how far 6 feet is and they're staring at you and it's making you uncomfortable. Since you won't always carry around a measuring tape to identify 6 feet, unlike Jerry, we will have to get creative. Some things that are 6 feet are an average sized fridge on its side, in between you and little Jim. Bam, 6 feet. Your favorite celebrity, Leonardo DiCaprio, 6 feet. Picture 2 yardsticks surgically glued together, 6 feet. Twin-sized or full-size mattress, 6 feet. Yay, it's Christmas already. No, the tree is 6 feet. 2 shopping carts aligned, 6 feet, and many, many, many more things that are 6 feet. Make sure to practice 6 feet social distancing and wear a mask to not only protect you, but your family, friends, and people around you to slow the spread of COVID. We are in this together. Peace out.
Riverside County also had a winner in November's monthly prompt, and so we wanted to share that video with you as well, called A Little Hope.
We are living in a challenging time, so it is important to look for the things that give us hope.
Getting comfort food from someone you love a lot.
Programming video games is my hope. taking the time to ride and fly.
What gives me hope is hanging out and talking with my sister.
And it's our job to rise up to the challenge and help others see hope too. We can all use a little hope.
And when you don't see hope, just open your eyes and your heart and look for it.
And our Riverside County students continue to participate. We just got word that the February prompt, also 2 Riverside County students received honorable mention and a second place win as well. We just got that information yesterday, so it's not in this presentation, but it's very exciting to see that even with distance learning, our kids are still engaging in this work. And this is another way that you can have young people that you're working with also get involved. Our Teen Suicide Awareness and Prevention program also transitioned from being present on high school campuses to doing virtual services. TSAP developed, launched, and coordinated a virtual Suicide Prevention Week activity for our local schools. They created short videos that were sent out to our participating schools addressing the concept of resilience. They asked students to share what resilience means to them in school, with friends, and with family. And they also shared suicide prevention information, and the response they received was amazing. Over 2,000 students sent in responses from 23 different schools. So here are some things that students shared about resiliency in the activity. To me, resilience is to be tough and recover from difficult situations quickly. I'm building up resilience by loving myself. Another student said to not give up when you're knocked down. Building resilience means to overcome new obstacles every day and learn from them. Right now, I am overcoming this new school system online, and so far I'm learning a lot from this experience and trying my best to enjoy what I do during online classes as if I am at school. So, very cool adaptation there. Next, we're going to move into our work plan 5, which is first onset for older adults. Our older adult project includes a few different programs. They're funded to reduce the first onset of depression and to reduce the impact of depression in the older adult population. So a total of 415 older adults and adults transitioning to older adulthood received services from evidence-based practices that include CBT for late life depression, care pathways, healthy ideas, and our Office on Aging. We partner with them to do a variety of services. And 3,372 individuals were outreached by the Office on Aging. They have info vans that go out into the community pre-COVID. So of course that's on hold for right now. So to break it down a little bit more, care pathways. This is a 12-session support group for caregivers of older adults. We had 186 people enrolled, with 78% completing the program. And what it showed was that depression scores and feelings of distress decreased. CareLink and Healthy Ideas is a care management program facilitated by the Office on Aging with older adults with high risk for depression. Healthy Ideas focuses on behavioral activation and social support. And participants' depression symptoms at the end significantly decreased. Participants also reported that their quality of life improved. We had over 50 older adults enrolled in that program. Our Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, or CBT, for late life depression is an early intervention service that reduces suicide risk and depression in older adults. It's an active, directive, time-limited, and structured problem-solving program. So this is really meant, as all of these programs are, for older adults that are newly experiencing depressive symptoms. We had 47 participants that were served by this program, and the results showed that depression significantly decreased after their participation. And we had a staff just describe that I feel stronger due to the ability to find a program that can address senior issues, home issues, and depression. PEARLS is another program that we offer, which is a prevention intervention for older adults experiencing minor depression or dysthymia, so low levels of depression. The program is designed to reduce those symptoms and to improve health-related quality of life. We had 88 participants that were served in this program, and 52% successfully completed the program, showing that depression and anxiety symptoms were significantly decreased. We do have more details on all of this outcome data that we can get to if anyone is interested in one particular model for today, because we had so much to cover. I'm giving you some broad feedback, but if anybody wants anything more specific, we can get you that after the meeting. And so again, COVID response. All of our PEI programs had to adapt, just like, so older adult programs adapted as well. And so CBT for late life depression through the center is our contract provider, switched over to telehealth service delivery for all of their clients. The PEARLS program transitioned from being an in-home program to all virtual, and Care Pathways supported caregivers of older adults through virtual classes as well. Our PEARLS program with Inland Caregiver Resource Center had to adapt and find new ways to engage and interact with our older adult population. For May's Mental Health Matters Month, their counselors presented an interactive virtual art class and provided psychoeducation on the positive impact art and self-expression can have on the mental health and well-being of our older adults. These videos were shared on their Facebook page and YouTube channel and received close to 100 views. And here is a recorded testimonial from a community member who participated in PEARLS Express Yourself Art activity. So I'm going to share that clip with you too.
Estoy enamorada del programa PEARLS, porque cuando yo, y bendito sea Dios que está ese programa y que yo me lo encontré en mi camino, porque yo estoy viviendo en unos apartamentos donde somos todos seniors y yo llegué muy deprimida a ese sitio porque ya había pasado problemas anteriormente. Pero como no tenía dónde descargar mis problemas, pues los descargué ahí. No me levantaba, me gustaba estar todo el tiempo en la cama. Pero gracias a Dios, cuando llegaron estos ángeles allá, proporcionando que nosotros pintáramos, de eso se trataba el tema. Y yo dije, no, pues yo voy para allá porque toda mi vida yo quise aprender. Yo estudié arte plástica en mi país, pero no era una cosa que así, ¿verdad? Pero sí, cuando llegaron ellos, yo me sentí muy bien. Y si vieran lo que yo pinté, cuando yo les dije a ellos que yo iba a pintar, ellos me dijeron lo que tú quieras. Express yourself. Eso fue lo que ellos me dijeron. Y yo empecé a tirar brocha ahí a lo loco. Y ahí empecé a descargar todos mis problemas. Y si ustedes ven ese cuadro, da miedo. Porque hasta el color de la pintura tan horrible. Ay, Dios mío. Y sí, gracias a Dios que llegaron ellos, llegó Joel Hernández estuvo ahí. Y él ha sido uno de los pilares que han llegado a mi vida. Yo antes de llegar a PEARL, tuve un antes y un después. Cuando yo llegué, como les digo, llegué muy mal y tienen una forma, un estilo tan bueno para trabajar con el ser humano que yo sinceramente, yo estoy enamorada de este programa y yo voy a seguir. Y yo no sé cuántas veces yo tenga que seguirle, pero aquí le voy a seguir porque este es un programa que deben de llamarle un taller, porque en los talleres se hacen las cosas y eso es lo que hace PEARL. Hace gente, porque yo hoy me siento muy llena de mí, me siento muy segura de mí, porque eso es lo que me ha enseñado a mí ese programa. Yo estoy contenta, estoy feliz. Yo me siento contenta. Puedo sonreír, puedo levantarme a cualquier hora. Y sé que lo que yo he aprendido, lo he aprendido con ustedes. Así que muchas gracias. No, siempre voy a estar en deuda con ustedes. Siempre. Siempre.
I just love that testimonial. Next up, we're going to dive into our work plan 6, which is the trauma exposed services. One of our first programs is Cognitive Behavioral Intervention for Trauma in Schools, or better known as CBITS. It's a therapy group intervention that is focused on reducing children's symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder and depression that is caused by traumatic experiences. This is done countywide in grades 5 through 10. We had over 200 students enroll with 66% completion rate. We saw depression scores decrease significantly, and 97% PTSD symptoms dropped to, when they started, they had 97% of them experience PTSD symptoms, and by the end of the program, it reduced down to 57%. And one of the youth who participated says, no matter your backstory, who you are, and what happens, you can overcome. We also offer the Seeking Safety program, and in last fiscal year, the program had gone out to bid and went through all the process, so we didn't currently have a provider in place for fiscal year 1920. It is a present-focused coping skills program designed to help people with a history of trauma and substance use. However, for this current fiscal year, Operation Safe House was awarded the contract to serve our transition age youth throughout the county, and they will be have branded the program Outside the Box. So that will be the title of the program that you'll see being advertised now. And for our adult population throughout the county, services were brought in-house. So we have behavioral health staff, PEI peer support specialists that will be offering this program to adults throughout the community. And they've branded their program is called Seeking Strength. Same model, just a name that is more suited toward outreach for these particular populations. So we'll have data for you on that one next year. We also support a trauma-informed service transformation in our system. And so as a department, we were rolling out the trauma-informed systems transformation. And we carried this forward even despite COVID. So we do this through offering TIS 101, Trauma-Informed Systems 101 training. And we've developed some in-house trainers to provide training to all of our staff on having a more trauma-informed approach to the work that we do with our consumers. And that was all converted to a virtual format, so that throughout COVID, we have continued to be able to engage our staff in this content and provide those trainings. We currently have 7 trainers, and we've trained, I believe, almost 600 staff to date. And so we're working our way. We also have a champions group and a leadership group develop a survey to find out a little bit more about our current baseline of where we are as a department, so that we know where we're going to grow from here. So that's a project that's currently in place. And now we'll move into our final work plan. Work Plan 7 focuses on our underserved cultural populations. Now, one thing I didn't say at the beginning for those of you that are new to PEI is that PEI programs are intended to address the underserved cultural populations of Riverside County. And in Riverside County, those are identified as the Hispanic Latinx population, African American, Asian Pacific Islander, Native American, LGBTQ, and the deaf and hard of hearing communities. All of our programs are meant to target these groups specifically and provide these services. But in Riverside County, the community stakeholder process said in addition to all of those programs that serve all those groups, they really felt it was important that we develop specific programs that were culturally specific to each of these groups as well. And so we have programs that focus in on each of those areas. We did get some new providers through this last fiscal year, and I'll talk about that as we get there. So I'm going to start with our Mamas y Bebés, or Mothers and Babies program, which is an evidence-based mood management program for pregnant and postpartum Hispanic Latino women. It uses cognitive behavioral strategies to reduce depression symptoms, specifically postpartum depression symptoms. We had 60 participants that were enrolled, and 70% completed the program, and nearly 80% were Latino women. We did have a new provider for this model. Riverside Community Health Foundation began to offer this in our Mid-County region, and our Reach Out program has been in place for a couple of years in the Western region. We also have our Paris Valley Filipino American Association does the Asian Pacific Islander Mental Health Resource Center And so they have a physical location in Moreno Valley, but have since adapted to virtual presentations. And so they offer mental health related presentations and outreach activities specific to the Filipino community, or really as broad as Asian population, where they invite individuals to mental health focused with cultural tailored information around stigma reduction, suicide prevention, with the goals of increasing access to care. And so one of the things that we see with the participants who've attended is that they're definitely recognizing the need for this and are excited about learning this information and want to share this with others in their family and in their community. Our next population is for the African American community, and this is building resilience in African American families. It's a multi-level prevention program for African American youth between the ages of 11 and 14. The components include a 9-month rites of passage for youth program, the cognitive behavioral therapy for youth and their families, as well as the Guiding Good Choices parenting program, which is a 5-week program, and then ongoing parent support groups for the parents of those youth in the 9-month program. This boys program is available in each of the 3 counties of our region. We've also had a girls model that came out of the stakeholder process a few years ago. Since we had a boys program, stakeholder feedback said we want girls program. So we piloted a girls program in the desert region and have seen great success. And as a result, we've now expanded it. So an RFP went out this year, and starting next year, we will have a boys and a girls program in all 3 regions of our county. So you can see for the rites of passage program, in the boys program, we had 45 youth served, and there were 18 girls with pretty good completion rates here. You see 69% for the boys and 78% for the girls. This is 9 months long, after school, 3 hours a day, 3 days a week. We saw an increase in positive ethnic identity and an increase in resiliency as well. See, some feedback from one of our girl participants says, "Now I'm proud of me, and being Black, I feel more confident." In the cognitive behavioral therapy, 30 of the youth in the boys program were served, and we saw decreases in depression, and 14 of our girls were served, and we saw interpersonal problems improve. The Guiding Good Choices parenting program is a 5-week parenting class, and it is a requirement for all of the parents of the youth enrolled in the program to participate in this. So we had 56 of them with 85% completion. 100% of the girls' parents completed. That showed an increase in positive parenting and parental involvement as well. The parent says, "The program has helped me build a better relationship with my son, and some of the tools they taught us were to let them go through their emotions without trying to suppress those emotions." And then the last program we'll talk about in this work plan is the Keeping Intergenerational Ties in Ethnic Families, or KITE, which is an evidence-based program based on a model called Strengthening Intergenerational Ties in Immigrant Families curriculum that's designed for Asian American parents to teach behavioral parenting skills to improve relationship between generations. It really is looking at acculturation. So particularly when the parents were born outside the United States, and now they're raising children in the United States. And so this is another new provider that we invited into our PEI family, and fiscal year 1920 was the first year of implementation for this model. And so it is a culturally sensitive, community-based intervention to strengthen the intergenerational relationships and promote immigrant parents' emotional awareness and empathy for their children's experiences, cognitive knowledge, understanding of differences between their Native and American cultures. There were 94 parent participants who enrolled in a total of 6 series of the class. 4 of the class series were offered in Chinese, 1 was offered in Korean, and 1 was a combination of Tagalog and English during 1920, and 74 parents has successfully completed that program. So despite the fact that some of them were unable to complete the program because of COVID-19, the total completion percentage is still relatively high. It's over 78%. Additionally, there were a total of 23 workshops that were offered during the fiscal year with over 200 attendees. The majority of the participants were female, and the participants were predominantly Chinese that preferred to use Mandarin or Chinese as their primary language. There were 50% of the participants who said that they were first-generation Americans. And parenting involvement and positive parenting scores increased after program completion. Total relationship scores also increased after the program, and overall post-survey responses from participants showed satisfaction of 95% or more with the KITE program. We do have one more program. Bad on me. Native American Resiliency Project is a brand new one that it just went out to RFP. So we did an extensive community needs process over the last couple of years, looking at what are the needs in the Native American community. And with that community stakeholder feedback, we created a project that includes 3 elements. Well Variety Celebrating Families is a structured family intervention. Cognitive behavioral therapy will also be available to youth and their families. And then it also includes a program called Gathering of Native Americans, or GONA, that is a 1 to 2 day long event. That's a community event that includes many cultural elements. That program just went out to bid, and we now have a brand new provider. The Riverside San Bernardino Indian Behavioral Health organization was awarded that contract, and we are expecting that program to roll out any day now. And so some of the COVID response we wanted to share, our KITE program adapted their program components in response to COVID-19 in order to continue to meet the needs of the Asian Pacific Islander community. They partnered with local school districts to continue to reach families and transitioned quickly onto Zoom, and were able to call parents on the phone to obtain pre and post measures for the parenting class component. They found other platforms being used by the AAPI community, in particular using WeChat, which is a Chinese multi-purpose messaging, social media, and mobile payment app to reach a large portion of the Chinese community. They tailored their workshop presentation topics to address relevant and current concerns: managing anxiety over COVID-19, managing family life amidst COVID, and ways to keep your family safe. They found ways to engage the Filipino community by hosting virtual Kapihan at Ugnanan. I might mess that up, but it translates as coffee break and connection. And they hosted these meetings, which brought together the cultural tradition of getting together for a coffee and a chat, in which they incorporated a guest speaker on a relevant topic, followed by their KITE parenting class. Some special projects I want to also tell you about. We offer a PEI Summit. We do this typically every year. And in fiscal year 1920, so August of 2019, we had our 8th annual summit. And the overall purpose of the summit is to address challenges PEI providers may have been facing in the past year, provide skills they can directly apply to their work, to educate providers about all the PEI programs and increase their understanding of how their program fits into the PEI plan, to increase collaboration, partnership, and referrals between PEI providers, and to recognize the contributions of our PEI providers in Riverside County and motivate providers to continue to do their work in the year to come. So in 1920, our summit theme was Beyond Bias, Connecting to Our Community, which focused on exploring our biases, the impact that they may unconsciously have on our interactions with others, and how to build awareness and skills to manage them in order to better serve our diverse communities with our PEI programs. We had 156 providers attend the summit, and overall the evaluations were very positive. Unfortunately, we did have to cancel for 2020, and it's not looking so good for 2021 either. But as soon as we're able to gather again, we will host another summit. We also partner with Each Mind Matters through the Joint Powers Authority. And Each Mind Matters is our technical assistance support at a statewide level that helps us with our education about mental illness and mental health in the community, stigma reduction, and suicide prevention. And so we get that kind of support that was instrumental really in helping us create the Suicide Prevention Strategic Plan, and continues to be available to us for the coalition development and progress as well. In 1920, we hosted our first suicide prevention awareness walk during Suicide Prevention Week in September, and had a great turnout. We're hopeful we'll be able to do that again when we're able to gather in person. And during Suicide Prevention Week, we offer mini grants. And in 1920, we awarded 17 organizations throughout Riverside County a mini grant to offer suicide prevention trainings, and resource information to a variety of audiences throughout the county. So that's what you're seeing here are some of those pictures of what they did, as well as our walk. And then we did get Board of Supervisor recognition of Suicide Prevention Week and honoring what that week is all about. Okay, so that is the overview of our PEI for 1920. So the way it works now, we will have a 30-day posting of the entire MHSA plan. The videos will be up. Yeah, we want to hear from you. So Miriam, if you could drop the MHSA feedback survey in the chat, that would be great. And you can offer any feedback now, but you can find the full, here, let me look here. So we're going to have the 30-day posting. And so we had a lot of success last year. In 2020, we had recorded our public hearings, and we had over 16,000 people throughout the county view those videos, more than normally would see this kind of information. Over 14,000 people engaged with the posts, and over 3,000 watched the entire 50-minute video. So we're going to do it again this year because it had such great success. And so I want to share with you how you can find it and where all this information is. So if you go to our department's website at rcdmh.org and you go to the top of the page and click the MHSA tab, a pop-up window will look like this. You click MHSA Plan Update, and it will take you to a page that looks like this one. And if you look here on the quick link section, it shows you the plan. And that's the current plan now. So you can click that and see the entire 300, 400 page plan and read it thoroughly. And then, or you can take what you've heard here today and give your feedback there as well. And so this next page shows you where you can post any comments. The MHSA plan feedback form that the arrow is pointing to on the right-hand side, that's the document Miriam will drop in the chat. So you'll have it here and you can email it to us, or you can just go to this page on our website, click that link, and you will get the same feedback form that you can complete and then email to us. I want to make sure I share with you who all of our MHSA administrative staff are. If you can always email mhsa@ruhealth.org. That is where you will submit those feedback forms. And if you have any questions about Mental Health Services Act, you can email that number or call the main administrative line. But our MHSA administrator is David Sholin, and there's his contact information. I'm Diana Brown. Oh, I need to update that to Gutierrez for PEI. Cherie Summers is our workforce education and training manager, and Tony Robinson oversees our innovations work. Okay. Whew. That was a lot to cover. And I want Mindy to be able to share with you some of the virtual training, but maybe I'll pause here for just a moment and see if there are any questions, comments.
I have a question.
Okay, ask your question.
I was just typing it. Sorry, I have to run because I have caregiving duties. But I just want to congratulate you, Diana, and your staff. Every year, you just amaze me by your wonderful, wonderful outcomes. So congratulations.
Yeah.
I have 3 questions. Number 1 question, I came on about half hour late, so you may have presented it. Is there an ethnic breakdown by age group of all the clients, families served by all these programs?
There is. I did not share it today, actually, but we do have it in our PEI Who We Serve report, and I can get you that report.
All right. The second is a question is last year, I mean, this has been my mantra, that with the wonderful Promotorist program, there are people reached, but not all of them qualify for county services, especially in my community, AAPI. Even if they qualify, there's not enough staff, that people don't speak their language, or the program is not welcoming to people who, I'm Asian American, I can walk into anything and feel comfortable, right? I've been here 50 years, but new immigrants. So every year I'm stating that it's great to have promoters, but the challenge of success is you pick up more issues and you need more services. So I'm just wondering, my second question is, are there plans to build in supportive services in multiple languages at churches or community centers, so when the promoters find folks who are at risk and cannot get into the county system, that they can avail themselves of some support? My third question is a very painful and difficult one as an Asian American, is all these Asian hate and crime that's happening. I guess 2 days ago, a Filipino lady, 65 years old, in Times Square on her way walking to church was stomped on by this big man. I mean, and it's just happening. And there's a lot of fear, a lot of anger, a lot of hurt and confusion. Because within our community, we're very diverse. Older folks may tell the younger folks, oh, don't make any noise, don't make any waves, don't say anything, let it go, because they've been victims of oppression, maybe in their home country. And the way to handle that is, let's not say anything. But young people are different, and I'm proud of them. They are saying something, but we need help. Today, LA Times front page, counseling services, non-existent for AAPI. People in private practice who speak Korean in LA are seeing people from New York or from Atlanta, from Georgia. They're getting calls. I'm just wondering again, are there plans to look at PEI dollars to support community forums, support groups, outreach, so that vulnerable, I'm even feeling kind of vulnerable. And I've been here 50 years and I speak English pretty well and pretty bicultural. So those are my three questions, Diana, and I don't expect that you have an answer right now, but I really want to put that on the record that representing Asian American Task Force, we're really concerned about that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that feedback. Thank you, Gladys. One thing I can share is that we are working with the Asian Pacific Islander Mental Health Resource Center provider, which is Paris Valley Filipino American Association, to develop a needs assessment. So our department, our research department, along with this provider and along with our SSG contract providers, we're working all together to develop a needs assessment, what's currently going on and what do people need and want in the Asian American community, so that we're better able to respond to those needs. And so
I'm so sorry, Diana, we don't need a needs assessment. We need help. We need support groups. We need it now. I'm really sorry, but I don't know who developed the idea of a needs assessment. For someone like me who's been doing this, oh God, should I tell, over 45 years, we don't need a needs assessment. You talk to those of us who know the community, we know what we need. And right now, that anger and hurt and fear is so intense. I really think we can't wait. So AATF is ready to work with PEI and other of your departments to see what we can do. Just let us know if you guys have resources to help us. And again, I'm really not trying to poo-poo this needs assessment. It's always good to have data, but right now this is an emergency. We just can't wait, Diana. Okay. So with that, I have to go take care of someone, and I'm so sorry I can't stay. And
no, I appreciate the feedback, and we'll be in touch.
All right.
Thanks, Gladys.
Thank you, everybody, for indulging my need. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, so how about we have Mindy briefly review some of the trainings so that you have some idea, if you haven't been acquainted with them already, what is available to you now and available to all of our community members. And then I'm willing to stick around at the end. I know I don't want to take people past 2 p.m. if they've got to go, but I can be here for some questions.
There, I think I fixed it up where what you're seeing is just the screen, right? Okay, great. So I'm going to go over just some of the virtual trainings that we're offering through PEI. Going back, I guess our virtual training started last May with just kind of the introduction of Mental Health 101 and Know the Signs as we were trying to adapt quickly to our new virtual environment with our May is Mental Health Month. So since May, though, we've revamped the virtual trainings offered and relaunched them officially at the end of last year in September. And I know that Diana provided some information about numbers at the time of the report that we shared earlier. But since the rollout, we've actually had over 1,700 attendees from all over the world, as she said, attend our virtual trainings. So it's kind of a little more up to date in the moment. So let's go over some of the ones that we are offering. The first one is Mental Health 101. This is a 90-minute presentation available in English and Spanish. And some of the things that this covers is going to define mental health and look at understanding mental health versus mental illness, and also how mental health is important for us all to care for. The mental health spectrum is also going to be reviewed. And this is kind of seeing how we're all on the spectrum of wellness, and along that continuum that there's different ways that we can care for our mental health, such as with prevention activities, early intervention activities, and also with different treatments. And then we also cover in this training stigma reduction. So we talk more about what stigma is and how cultural factors can influence how we view mental health and also mental illness, and how we can help to reduce stigma, most importantly. And we also cover risk and protective factors and how these can be categorized in different areas, such as biophysical, social, psychological, and also spiritual. And we also, at the end of every training, go over available resources that are local to our community. So that's kind of like the Mental Health 101 in a nutshell. And then we also have some testimonials, I guess, from participants who have attended. So they say, very good course, very well put together. Glad to have my team join. The best part for me was learning the difference between empathy and sympathy and its importance to mental health. I was able to learn a lot on how to respond to a friend if they reach out for support. The material was presented in terms that are easy to understand for individuals from all backgrounds and experience levels. The visual aids were extremely helpful and kept my attention throughout the presentation. So then we'll go over to talk about our self-care and wellness presentation. So this is a 2-hour presentation available in English and Spanish. And some of the different things that this covers is understanding how stress affects us, and especially in the following areas: how it affects us psychologically, spiritually, interpersonally, and also physically. And we want to understand also and build an awareness of the difference between an optimal level of stress and when stress kind of becomes to the point where it causes us to become disorganized and also overwhelmed, and what the impact that we see that has. And throughout this presentation, we also have strategies in each one of these areas to help us manage that stress and to build resiliency. And it's a very interactive presentation, so we actually offer some guided practice of those different strategies, and of course discuss the available resources. And so some things that people had shared with us from this training was that I think it's helpful to remind people to not judge themselves when asking for help. It's important to realize that judging oneself is a hindrance to helping others. Somebody also said, I really appreciated all of the sections. The spirituality information was very beneficial, gave me a lot to think about. Thank you. And the best part was getting to learn new ways as well as old ways of self-care that can be implemented into daily life. And then our next one we have is the Building Resiliency and Understanding Trauma. It's also 2 hours, available in English and Spanish. And so what we do through this training is to understand and define trauma, because this is an important first step, because how we define trauma will influence how we interact with people who've experienced trauma. We also go over the different trauma types, and we offer a short neurobiology lesson on the trauma's impact it has on our brain. And then looking at child traumatic stress, and then also ACEs and the impact that those experiences can have on our later life. And then also we look at community level ACEs as well. So it's not just about our individual experiences that we perhaps have had in early childhood, but also where we grow up can have impact on us later on as well. And we look to utilize a resiliency lens and look how to be more trauma informed, and really kind of stress throughout this presentation the idea of resiliency and how ACEs are not finalistic or destiny, but what is predictable is preventable, and how we can go about offering people that hope through resiliency to overcome. And some of the things that folks have shared, this course was personal for me. I found it hopeful to find people, how people are resilient. This is one of the most informative courses I have attended. I'm so happy I joined. The information that was provided and the discussion was the best part. The facilitators were incredible and very knowledgeable, great training. And the physical function of the brain was very interesting, and the empathy for those who have experienced trauma. So some feedback that we've received. And so our next virtual training offered is our Know the Signs training. So this is one of our suicide prevention trainings that's going to be able to be offered virtually. It's 2 hours, available in English and Spanish. And this one is based on the website, which is suicidespreventable.org. And the reason we wanted to utilize this site as the basis for this training is because it's going to help attendees that tune into this presentation. It's going to help them learn how to navigate a very helpful resource and share that with others, so that after this training, they have somewhere to go back to learn more and to share this with people that they may know. So some things that this covers, it does look at the warning signs of suicide. It looks at how to find the words and to have a direct conversation with someone you're concerned about, and also where to find professional help and resources. And what we've integrated throughout these presentations is the use of like skill practice and looking at videos and vignettes, and also using the pulse feature to help reinforce those skills. And so here is the registration link that's through Eventbrite, as Diana had mentioned. So this is open to everyone all over the world, however they may find us. So there's the link here that you can take note of, or there's also a QR code. And so you can scan this to be directed to the website to look at all upcoming dates. We are trying to offer them one of each of these trainings every month, and then offering a variety of them also in Spanish, and as needs arise for those. So that is some information about that. And I'm going to quickly talk now about our May is Mental Health Matters Month, and how we did talk about last year's activities and how we're looking now towards this year and how we can build on what we have created, and to really kind of spread our wings further for this year with our new theme. So for this year's theme, it is Hope for Change. So we are currently working with other like our larger community to help develop a new calendar and activity guide coming soon. And the online activation kit is available through Each Mind Matters. The link is at the bottom there, but also you can scan the QR code to be directed. And so we will keep you stay tuned for more information about the calendar and activity guide. And we hope that all of our PEI providers, as well as the larger community, will take part in this year's activity. So we really kind of see that larger reach for our building mental health awareness. So that's all I really have about that.
Thank you, Mindy.
You're
And
welcome.
so we didn't have any final things. They're still in development. So we would have shared them with you today if we had enough time. But we do want you to see the activation kit that is released for this year. You will get emails from me that include the new ones for the year to come. We will be asking all PEI contract providers, as well as our other partners throughout the county, to join us in doing some of these activities, promoting the activities, and posting on social media pages to spread the word and share the awareness. So be on the lookout. So we definitely are reaching the end of our meeting, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So if you have to go, that's completely understandable. And I am willing to be here a little bit longer if there are any final questions, comments, or anybody wants to make a quick announcement about their any upcoming programming that they want to share. So feel free to unmute or add something in the chat. Are we all on info overload?
I can definitely share.
Okay.
Okay, so I did leave it on the chat because I was going to go, but since no one wants to share, I just wanted to say that my name is Stephanie Quiroz. I'm one of the family wellness facilitators here at Reach Out. You did mention it, Diana, about our Mamá Si Best program. So we continue to do that, of course, virtually or by phone to accommodate any mommies doing distant learnings with their children. We do have exciting news. We are collaborating with Riverside Unified School District for a Spanish class every Wednesday. So it is welcome to all our USD moms or also community. And then of course, we do have our Thursday virtual class through Zoom. It is an open group, so moms are always welcome to join. And I did provide the flyer. And of course, if anyone would like to share resources with me, I would love keeping a folder of all these wonderful resources for Riverside County or San Bernardino. So please email me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephanie.
Diana?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did a very good job of presenting this today.
Thanks.
I guess I'm a little confused though in terms of the PEI plan and what's posted. Is your presentation today available? What kind of format is the plan in? I guess I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, so the plan, no, my presentation today is not on the department's website. We can make this and we can send this out to you if you'd like. But the plan is in the larger MHSA plan. The PEI component is within it. So if you go to the department's website, click on MHSA tab at the top, it'll take you to a page where the entire plan is on the quick link section on that right side of the screen. And you can download a PDF version of the plan, take a look through it. And then by April 12th, we're aiming to have the public hearing videos available also for view. So you'll get a more in-depth overview from each of the program managers of each component of the Mental Health Services Act that will share that update as well.
Okay, and do you have plans in terms of the recording today, especially of your presentation, as to when or where that's available?
We could make it available, sure. Yes, it's being recorded. We can do that. We can send it out to you all, and then you can share it if you'd like.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Would that include also your the PowerPoint, the presentation itself, since it has such great information?
Sure, yeah, we can send out
okay, great.
the slides, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Diane.
And for those of you that are new to us, we can also send out our PEI program provider contact list during virtual services, as many people are not in the office. We developed a one-page with contact information, so we can send that out as well. So if you're interested in accessing the services, you'll know who to call.
Oh, that's awesome. I'd love that.
Yeah. Other questions or comments? Or anybody want to share anything about their service? Okay, so if that's it, thank you all for sticking around. I appreciate it. We will see you June 30th at 12 p.m. for the next PEI Collaborative, and we'll be in touch with you in between now and then about May is Mental Health Month, so be on the lookout, and we hope you'll partner with us. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.